Good morning, and thanks for joining us for bringing the zoo to you today. My name is John, and I'm the zoo's environmental quality manager. I oversee the environmental quality lab here at the animal hospital. I use over 30 different pieces of benchtop, field, and inline instrumentation to monitor all the environments we provide here for the animals. And the environmental quality program looks at many different aspects of the environment, water, air, light, sound, but the focus of the program is water quality. And that's because animals that are on our aquatic exhibits don't have off-exhibit holding spaces like a lot of our terrestrial animals. So that just means that we have to maintain the right conditions 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for our aquatic species. So in order to do that, we test every aquatic recirculating system in the park at least once every 2 weeks for things like temperature and pH, ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, salinity if it's a marine system, because we have to create our own salt water here because we don't have an ocean nearby, and conductivity for freshwater systems, and some of the more sophisticated systems that have really robust life support systems with big pumps and chillers and heaters and disinfection systems are backed up by monitoring and alarm systems. So those are kind of watched over by myself, life support, and our plant facility staff. So in the event that there's any kind of mechanical equipment malfunction, our alarm systems kick in and let us know that something's happening, and we can respond before the animals ever know that there's a problem. So it's a really big responsibility, but a really cool job and very rewarding job. So we're coming to you today from Swan Lake. It's a 4-acre lake on the property here. It's a man-made lake that was excavated in 1927, 7 years before the zoo opened in 1934. It was originally designed as a waterfowl sanctuary for migratory waterfowl, and it was called Waterfowl Lake. In 1974 and 1975, the lake was completely drained. It was dredged, which means all the stuff that was in the bottom of the lake was removed, and it was recreated to the 4 acres, 2,000 feet of shoreline, and the 3 islands that are here now. Also at that time, the lake was renamed Indian Lake by suggestion from CZS trustee Ellen Thorne Smith for the Chippewa, Ottawa, and Potawatomi Indians that used to inhabit this area. So in 2015, the lake was again renamed Swan Lake to kind of bring some attention to our trumpeter swan breeding and reintroduction program. It was a partnership with the Iowa Department of Natural Resources. Kellogg was our last trumpeter swan who was here in 2017. We got a breeding recommendation and sent him to Willow Park Zoo in Utah. So we don't currently have a timeline for bringing trumpeter swans back to Swan Lake. That's actually good news because the trumpeter swans are making a comeback in the wild, and Iowa DNR doesn't currently need us to be participating in the breeding and reintroduction program. So let's take a walk around the lake and we'll kind of show you some of the stuff that you can see here. So the lake is actually owned by the Forest Preserve Districts of Cook County, and it's designed to be a stocking pond for bluegill and largemouth bass. So we don't allow fishing here because it still is a waterfowl sanctuary, but Cook County fisheries can come and collect fish anytime that they need to. And I don't know if you can see that buoy that's out there. That's actually the deepest part of the lake. It's about 13.5 feet. And I've got some water quality data loggers under that buoy that I'm going to talk about in a little while. In 2018, we actually also added some triploid grass carp. Triploid grass carp are sterile carp. They can't reproduce, and they're a form of aquatic plant control. So one of the big challenges that we have here with Swan Lake is nutrient loading, especially phosphorus. If you think about the last time that you were here at the zoo, you probably saw a lot of geese, and we estimate that the geese put about 100 pounds of phosphorus into the lake every year from all the grass and vegetation that they eat. And then they come spend the night at the lake and they deposit that vegetation into the lake, and that's where our phosphorus loading comes from. So that heavy nutrient loading actually classifies our lake as what's called eutrophic, which means it has lots and lots of nutrients, and it's prone to algal blooms. So left unchecked, if we didn't do anything to control that algae, the dissolved oxygen levels would actually go down over nighttime. And if you think about it, plants photosynthesize and create oxygen during the day, and then at nighttime they go into respiration mode, which means they actually use oxygen that the fish are also needing. So we use several different methods to control the nutrients and the algae, such as putting in beneficial bacteria into the lake to compete with the algae for the phosphates and nitrates. And we can also add some different things like alum, aluminum sulfate, or lanthanum chloride to chemically bind up the phosphorus and prevent the plants from ever getting it. So you can see we've got some algal mats that are kind of coming up right here. So it's kind of my job to make sure that those don't take over and carpet the entire lake. So these mats actually are an important part of the ecosystem. If they didn't have those, there wouldn't be a lot of the insects and macroinvertebrates like dragonflies that the fish would be looking for food. So we like to have some algal mats. We just don't want to have the whole lake covered by it, because that would prevent sunlight from getting down to the bottom of the lake and helping us keep the lake oxygenated. We also use a aeration system on the west side of the lake to sort of mechanically oxygenate and mix the lake. Normal lakes would be stratified into different layers, but we turn our aeration system on in the summertime to oxygenate the lake and prevent that stratification from happening. And the important thing about that is if we had a hot day with a cold rain, the lake could go into a turnover where that low oxygen cold water at the bottom gets pushed up to the top and depletes the oxygen. So we need to keep all the bluegill and bass in there alive, so that if Cook County ever needed to come out and take them, they would be able to come out and do that, and the fish are all healthy and ready to go to lakes that they needed them in. So we participate in the EPA's Volunteer Lake Monitoring Program. That program was started by the EPA in 1981 to look at different lakes around the country. And there's over 100 volunteers around Illinois, including myself, that participate in this program. So every other week, April through November, I actually take a boat out on the lake, look at a couple different sites, including where that buoy was at, and look at temperature, dissolved oxygen from the surface to the bottom, and collect surface and bottom samples from 2 sites that I can take back to the Animal Hospital Water Quality Lab and process. And then the results of those findings kind of help us determine what management decisions need to be made to manage the lake and keep the lake looking nice and healthy for you to come walk around. So we also have a couple of water quality data loggers, and those are the data loggers I mentioned that are underneath that buoy. They have a sensor array on them that it allows it to measure things like temperature and dissolved oxygen, pH, and conductivity, and they're programmed to do that every hour. Each one of those hydro labs uses 8C batteries, and normally you would have to change those batteries out every other week. So in 2012, we actually worked with a company called Remote Data Incorporated, and they designed us a 90-watt solar power station with a Wi-Fi antenna on it. So now instead of having to change the batteries out every 2 weeks, I put a new set of batteries in at the beginning of the season, and that solar power station will power the hydro labs all summer long on one set of batteries, and I can remote into the power station from my office here at the zoo and see what's going out on the lake from my office. So pretty neat to have that kind of connectivity. I think we're on our way over to Dragonfly Marsh, which is a man-made wetland. So is there any questions that I can answer while we're on our way up there?
Yeah. First of all, how long is this trail that we're on?
Well, the shoreline is about 2,000 feet, so the trail itself is probably close to a mile. but it's a really nice walk. It only takes about 20 minutes. You've probably seen it. There's all kinds of really cool signage here. They have poetry stops. There's all kinds of things to do and see. There's a few places to sit down and just kind of relax and connect with wildlife and nature. And just a really, really nice walk. Swan Lake is one of my favorite places and one of my favorite things to do in the summertime. Just a very, very peaceful way to spend a couple hours of my day and to make sure that I keep the lake healthy and looking nice.
What kinds of animals can people see when they come to the lake?
Oh, great question. This is we have a whole bunch of different species of turtles out here. We've got many different species of birds, all your native birds, robins, cardinals, sparrows. We also occasionally see great blue heron, green heron. I've seen turkey vultures out here, an occasional bald eagle. So just lots and lots of opportunities for looking for stuff on logs out here, or just birds in the trees that you can hear them singing in the background.
And I know Cody, he's over in birds. He did a couple of these last week. He saw a scarlet tanager here last week.
Oh wow.
Let's see. Sorry, I keep getting distracted because I'm looking around.
Yeah, there's a lot to see out here.
How many species of fish are in the lake?
Currently, there's 3 that we know of. So there's the bluegill, largemouth bass that the lake is stocked with, and then we put the triploid grass carp in 2018. And we're coming up on Dragonfly Marsh here now. This is a constructed wetland that was built through a partnership with the EPA's Northeastern Illinois Planning Commission, which is now the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. And this was done in 1999. It's a demonstration wetland. It's designed to be flooded a couple of times a day with water from the lake. And it has different zones in it. Some of them are submerged, that are designed to be underwater all the time. Some of them are emergent, so it's designed to be flooded a little bit and then drained. So twice a day we turn a pump on for about 40 minutes to take water out of the lake, send it through the wetland to be filtered and have some of the nutrients extracted, some of the nitrates and phosphates, and then the water comes back to the lake. So it's all kinds of just native vegetation. And there's this great little learning area up here where you can sit down and spend a little time. There's all kinds of activities. And when we teach classes out here about Swan Lake, or just lakes in general, and what is good water quality, this is typically where we do those classes. So we can talk about different things that we would want to look for, like pH and nitrates and phosphates and dissolved oxygen, and then actually take some water samples from the lake and see what it looks like. So you get a really great view of the wetland here. And on the left-hand side is sort of the deepest side. We also do a partnership with the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County with a Blandings Turtle Head Start project. So our Curator of Aquatics and Reptiles gets in some hatchlings, which we put into a soft release pen that'll get partially submerged in the water. So those little hatchlings have access to water and some of the macroinvertebrates and maybe tadpoles that they would eat, but they're protected from predators and they can grow out for the season. And then at the end of the season, we pull the pens out and return the hatchlings that have grown throughout the summer back to the forest preserves, and they're released back into the wild. So it's just another really wonderful place to come visit. Lots of natural prairie grasses and plants. Any questions about Dragonfly Marsh?
What's that big tall dead tree for?
That was just a tree that was here. It's been there for as long as I've been here, since I started in 2006. And you can see there's a couple boxes on the trunk. I don't know if you can see those. Those are actually to help attract bats. So bats will eat lots and lots of bugs, including mosquitoes, which we really want to try and avoid. So that's to help those guys, give them a place to hang out and then help us take care of some of the insects at nighttime.
All right.
So we'll from here we'll head on to the so this is sort of like the end of the Salt Creek Wilderness Path, and then it transitions into a paved path here, and it'll kind of take us back to where we started. And one of the really cool things to see over here is a 32-foot fiberglass replica of a trachodon, or a duck-billed dinosaur, and that was built by Louis Paul Jonas for the 1964 New York World's Fair. Sinclair Oil Corporation, and their icon was this brontosaurus. So Sinclair Oil Corporation had a Dino Land exhibit at the 1964 New York World's Fair, and so this trachodon was part of that Dino Land exhibit. And the Atlantic Richfield Company donated that replica to the zoo in 1970. So that's going to be coming up here on our right. In this little grove here, we actually have some oaks in this grove that are over 150 years old. So it's just an amazing part of the zoo that not a whole lot of people know about. So
yeah, and our
really
grounds crew's been doing a great job removing invasive species in there.
Oh yes, yeah.
So it looks really good.
They always in there clearing buckthorn and other invasive species.
How many types of dragonflies do we get here? Do you know?
That's a really great question. I typically, I see dragonflies and damselflies. They kind of look similar. Probably like 3 or 4 different species. And they really enjoy those algal mats because they'll lay their eggs in there. And then the eggs will hatch out to nymphs, which live in the water. And then those nymphs will hatch out to adults. So here you can see our trachodon. I remember coming to the zoo as a kid. I've been coming here pretty much my whole life now, and this was one of my favorite things. Lots of fond memories about the trachodon. So when I started here at the zoo in 2006, it's one of the things that I came to look for first, and really cool, the connection to my childhood, and just a really fun place to work.
Do you know if he's always been in this spot?
Yes, he's always been here. So this Salt Creek Wilderness and Swan Lake is on the far west side of the property, kind of over by Great Bear Wilderness, Habitat Africa Forest, and Regenstein Wolf Woods. Like I said, it's about a 20-minute walk. It's just a really nice, if you want to get some quiet time or a little connect with wildlife and nature, get some great wildlife photos, or bring your binoculars and do some bird watching. Just a really peaceful place to come out and hang out.
Ooh, someone just mentioned the golden lion tamarins that used to be out in this area.
Oh yes.
And they wanted to know if we were going to be doing that again. And as far as I know, we don't currently have any plans.
That's correct. Yeah, I'm not aware of it, but yeah. So over by the trachodon in those wooded areas there, you might still see some numbers on the trees, and so the golden lion tamarins had radio collars, so the animal care specialists could come out and find them in the morning. So it was a kind of an interesting project to see how they would react to actually being outside and having ropes to climb on between the different trees. And but yeah, I'm not aware of any plans to do that again.
Yeah, and as far as I know, I could be incorrect, but as far as I know, the reason we're not doing that is because the golden lion tamarin population in South America has kind of reached the limit of what their habitat can handle. But we may do that again in the future, once they go back to releasing them back into the wild again.
Yeah, another great breeding and reintroduction program, another comeback in nature. So here we are back where we started.
So what's your favorite part of working with the water quality?
Favorite part? Just knowing that I'm checking the water quality every other week, and just making sure that the animals are always doing really well. It's a big responsibility, but just kind of doing my part to make sure that the animals are happy and healthy. And you can see the solar power station right down there. That's that 90-watt solar power station. And what you can't see is there's cables actually going out to the hydro labs, connecting that directly to that power station. And inside that box there is a 12-volt battery and all the equipment that converts that solar electricity into charging the battery, and also the Wi-Fi device that's in there to help me connect with that data anytime I need to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't even think about the fact that we do water quality here at Brookfield Zoo. And I think that means you're doing a really great job.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I got my start as a volunteer at the John G. Shedd Aquarium back in the 90s when I was going into school. So if you're interested in doing something like this, it's always great to take advantage of opportunities like that, volunteer at a place you're interested in and see if you like it, do internships, or just kind of get your foot in the door and make some connections and do some networking with people and kind of learn as much as you can. So thank you guys very much for tuning in today, and as always, appreciate your support of the zoo, and thank you so much for your time. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again soon.